Hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss the very interesting topic of process and project metrics under our software engineering course. This is Dr. Rachita Misra speaking to you. Today we will cover these topics. We will define what is metrics, measurements. We will look into the process metrics which are used for the software process improvement. And we will try to create some guidelines to define the process metrics and how to measure them. Then we will go over to the project metrics, quality metrics. We will see some of the metrics for object-oriented and web engineering kind of projects. And then we will see how the metrics method can be integrated to the project process. So what is measurement? Measurement is the same, is nothing but the data that we collect during the project by the project team about various activities and the work products. So every project team member will be collecting some data. It will be contributing the data regarding the activity that he is doing and the work product that is getting produced. So those measurements or the raw data, that which is collected across all the resources and all the work products, they get converted into metrics during the software process as it gets executed, and it is used for process improvement. And also these metrics provide insight for process monitoring and control. And metrics provide important indicators for different project level quality parameters. So there are two types of things here. One is the process level, which is used for monitoring, controlling, and at the organization level, it is for improvement. And also project level quality parameters, which provide us an indicator about the health of the project. So that is what we have stated here. Process metrics are computed for each project, collected across all projects for a very long time period, so that we can get the process indicators. That is the process indicators for the complete organization. So that is our objective, to provide a set of process indicators, and these process indicators will provide the capability of the organization, and then we can go for the long-term software process improvements. And in case of project metrics, this is required for the project manager to take certain decisions, strategic and tactical decisions. It enables the software project manager to assess the status of the ongoing project, track potential risks, uncover problem areas to avoid critical conditions, adjust the workflow, task efficiency, and also see how well software team is able to control the quality of the software work products. So you can view the process of the project to be in the center of three items: the product, the people, and the technology, which have a very a large influence or impact on the process, and therefore the software quality and organizational performance. So these four things together will provide us the software quality and the organizational performance, the process, along with these three influencing factors. And we can consider these triangle, all these four aspects, to be within another environmental circle, which is customer characteristics, business conditions, and the development environment. So this is the tools, technologies that being used, and this is how the customer behaves, what is his knowledge level, how much process oriented is he, how much time he provides. So that is the customer characteristics. And this is the business, what that they are doing, what is the kind of business they are doing, how stable it is, how much funding they will do, um, uh, how much change, whether they will actually look for change or not. So whether they are able to provide the business objective and the scope and the requirements, or it will be kind of changing or evolving. So those are the business kind of characteristics, customer characteristics and environmental characteristics. So these three things will also have a indirect impact on the process and its quality or its capability. So let's look at how process metrics are used for the process improvement. So to be able to improve the process performance for the project software teams, they will measure the specific attributes of the process outcome and use the derived metrics as indicators to strategize the improvement methods. So they have to first determine the specific attributes that they will measure, and those, after taking the measurement, they will convert it into metrics. These attributes are process attributes. The outcome from that will be derived into metrics. These metrics will be indicators, and those indicators will be used to determine what strategy they will use for the process improvement. And to measure the efficiency and suitability of the software process, a set of metrics based on the overall process outcome that will include. So this is just we have said here many attributes will be measured. So those metrics we are giving how those metrics, what are the kinds of, what is the nature of those metrics. The one is measures of errors detected. That can be before the release of the software. That means at the time of development and testing. And defects reported by end user after the release. So this is the remaining errors. We can say this is the remaining errors. Work products delivered. This will determine some kind of a productivity measure. Manpower or effort spent in each process. This will give us the relative time effort spent, which we can compare with what we had planned and estimated. Calendar time used, so that also can be measured. And because we have got the plan scheduled, so we can see the schedule conformance based on the calendar time that we have measured. And any other process measures we can use to determine the metrics, and all these things will be to measure the efficiency and suitable of the software process. This will be used to check the suitability and the efficiency of the software process. We may also derive certain process metrics by measuring the characteristics of specific software engineering tasks. So these are general overall process outcomes, and this is for a particular specific engineering task. So that means this is averaged over the project, all the processes, and this is for a particular activity, either the analysis, certain process metrics for the analysis. We can have process metrics for the design. So there are many people who have done research and practiced over a long period. They have given this specific project activity based process metrics, which can also be collected and used for improving that particular specific activities. So then can we create a guidelines of how to collect the metrics, or how to collect the measurement and convert it? So what is the problem in collecting metrics? So because process metrics that belong to a project, because they are made public to the organization, to measure the process capability measure and the process improvement, there is a possibility that it will be misunderstood. So the project team may feel threatened because of this misunderstanding or mismanagement of the this. Instead of using for the intent, it will be used for a other intent which was not intended, but something else it will be used against them. So for that reason, some of the researchers like Grady Booch, they have suggested that when you do the process metrics, when you introduce process metrics to your project, you have to follow certain etiquettes. And those etiquettes are considered as guidelines for the project managers to create the metrics culture and the discipline among the team members. Once this is established, then you can move to a formal and rigorous statistical software process and improvement plan. So these are some of the guideline or the metrics etiquette that has been given by Grady. So use common sense. Don't try to be too smart and too pushy. And you have to consider the organizational sensitivity also when you interpret the metrics data. And provide regular means to basically it asks you to be very objective instead of try to be being subjective. Provide regular feedback to the individuals and teams who collect the metrics so that they will know how it is going, whether it is going below the level or above the level. Don't use metrics to appraise individuals. It should not be used for a particular individual because it is collected for a team and across projects for the organization. Never use metrics to threaten. Work with practitioners and teams to set clear goals and metrics that will be used for measuring achievements. So because the metrics are being used for measuring the achievements of the project team or the processes or the work products, so it is always better that the project manager sits with the project team members to define the metrics and also set some goals for the value that they will attain. And metrics data that indicate a problem area should not be considered negative because it is very natural to have problem areas which and that is the goal, that is the objective of measuring metrics to determine where is the problem area. So whenever you didn't find that the matrix is going bad or low, so this is an opportunity for us to determine the problem area and improve it. So it should not be taken in a negative manner. And don't obsess on a single metric to the exclusion of the other metrics. In other words, you consider several metrics when you take a decision rather than a single metric. And some of the commonly used process quality metrics have been stated here. Defect removal efficiency is the ratio of defects removed before delivery to the total errors found, including those reported by the client. So this is E plus D and this is only E. So this is the total defect that was there in the software, and this is what has been removed. So that is why we call it defect removal efficiency. Then we have the defect injection during the development. We all know that when we do the development, we cannot make it totally error-free. So there will be some defects that will be detected, and those are the defects that have been injected while the development is going on. So we can, to normalize it, we will determine it based on the ratio to the size, either in terms of the K-log or in terms of FP. And then we have the defect productivity matrix, which is measured in terms of the size completed within a person hour, or function point is again size in a person months, or the number of hours required to complete a class. So these are productivity metrics, and these can be measured for each activity and also averaged over a complete project. Then you have the project metrics. So long we were talking of process, which is used for the organizational capability measure and also for the process improvement. Now we are coming to project metrics, which are helpful for determining so many parameters and the status of the project and understand what is going wrong and how to bring it to the right course. So project metrics are used by project manager and team to take tactical decisions as the project progresses and minimize the development schedule by making the adjustment necessary to avoid delays and mitigate potential problems and risks. And another thing that they do is assess the product quality on an ongoing basis and when necessary modify the technical approach to improve quality. So these are some of the tactical actions they take, tactical decisions they take, and they do the rectifications whenever there is a problem by using the metrics data. So basically metrics data is used only for determining the potential problems and risks and quality problems. And every project should measure the inputs, the measures of resources, outputs, the measure of the deliverables, and also results, measure that indicate effectiveness and deliverables. So these are the three different types of measurement we have to take to determine, to compute certain metrics. So what are the software measurements that we take are collected in two different ways. There are direct measures and indirect measures. Direct measures are for the software process and product. For example, what was the line of code? What was the execution speed? How many defects were found? So these are direct measures. Then there will be some indirect measures. And these normally include the functionality, complexity, efficiency, reliability. So they are based on certain concept, and they are many times they are ratios. You have to measure 2-3 different things and then derive these things. So they are indirect measures, they are derivable measures. And whereas these are direct measures, they are like base measures. Both size oriented and function oriented measurements need to be normalized for being able to make comparison for ascertaining level of attainment. So whenever we determine some size oriented and function oriented measurements, we have to normalize it so that it comes to the same level, same scale for the comparison and ascertaining a particular level or for doing process improvement. So let us look at some of the size oriented metrics. So these are, as we have seen, these are all normalized with respect to the unit of the size. So errors per KLOC, defects per KLOC, again cost per KLOC, that means either the effort or the cost used for 1,000 lines of code, pages of documentation, errors per person month, errors per review hour, LOC per person months, cost per page of documentation, we want to see the documentation status, and like that many more can be done. So everywhere, whatever is the measure we are doing, we are trying to see for a particular unit of size, what is the measure. So we call it size oriented metrics. Then there are function oriented metrics where we measure the similar kind of characteristics, but we normalize it with respect to the functionality delivered. And to measure the functionality delivered, we have to go for something known as function point. So it is not a direct measure, it is an indirect measure. So we are using the indirect measure to determine the metrics here. So function point is widely used as a function oriented metrics, and FP is based on characteristics of software information domain and complexity such as inputs, outputs, queries, internal logical files and external interfaces. So LOC is always dependent on which programming language we are using, but FP is not. Function point, because it depends on the characteristics of the software in terms of inputs, outputs, queries, how many are there and how complex it is. So it doesn't depend on the programming language, and therefore it is very suitable for determining the complexity of a particular software. It is applicable for software development using both conventional and non-procedural languages. Whether you are using procedural languages, whether you are using object-oriented languages, or you are using non-procedural languages, you can use this function-oriented metrics, which is the function point, and you can normalize any other measure in terms of the function point. Now let us see whether we can relate the function point to the LOC. So many researchers over years for different projects in the different areas have taken the LOC as well as the FP measure, and they have tried to relate it. So some standard tables are available. So I have taken this to give you an idea or a comparison of how different programming languages, what is the average lines of code for a a single function point. So if you want to code or do all the engineering activities for a function point, how many lines of code it will result. So in case of assembler, which is a very low level language, you have to take 337 lines of code for a FP, whereas for a procedural language like C, it is 128. This is a high level procedural language, so it is almost one third. And if you take some of the object oriented languages, then it becomes half of the procedural languages, 64, 63 for C++ and Java. COBOL, which is another high level language, but it has got many features. But C is very cryptic. COBOL is not cryptic. It is very much business friendly. It takes only 77, almost like a object oriented programming. Then JavaScript, even lower. And you go to some of the non-procedural languages, Oracle, SQL, Visual Basic, you can code them with less number of, you can attain a function point with less number of code. So these are faster. You can do this programming faster to attain of FP. You only have to write less number of code, but here you have to write a lot of code. Then we come to the object-oriented metrics. So although FP and LOC are useful for object-oriented development, but there are certain things they may not provide enough inputs. So the indicators may not be good. So and especially when you are doing iterative, evolutionary, and incremental process models, which always follow the object-oriented paradigm. So, few object-oriented specific metric related to size and functionality we can give. That is your number of scenario scripts or number of use cases, number of key classes, number of support classes for the key classes, average number of support classes per key class, number of subsystems, number of components. So these can be used as the base size measure for object-oriented metrics instead of going for the LOC or the FP. And similarly, for the web engineering project, you can think of static web pages, dynamic web pages, internal page links, persistent data objects, external system interfaces. Then you go to the content, static content, dynamic content, and number of executable functions. This is not exhaustive. It is just an indication. All the slides I'm giving you indication so that you understand what are the type of metrics that is needed to be determined and which is meaningful to the project for monitoring and doing improvements. Then we have software quality. So when we do the project and now we are going for the product. So under the project there will be two types. One is the overall project, the other is the product quality. So here we are going for the metrics for the software quality, that means the product quality. Correctness and accuracy, mostly measured by defects per LOC or FP. Defects reported by user for a time period after the delivery are considered. So whenever we go for correctness or accuracy, we always look for how many defects we left out over a period. We measure it for a period and average it out. So number of defects is the measure, and we normalize it with LOC or FP. Similarly, maintainability is another software quality characteristics. We have seen many software quality characteristics, and for almost every software quality characteristics, we can define a matrix. Similarly, for maintainability, the measured several metrics. One very important matrix is mean time to change. That means it measures the time required to analyze and implement a change. If a change request comes and it is given to the team, then how much time it takes. And this is measured over many changes over a period of time. And what is the average mean time to change? That is measured as in this metric. And that is meaningful because if it is low, that means the maintainability is high. And if the MTTC is high, that means we are taking more time to process the change request. That means maintainability is low. Similarly, integrity or security. It is measured in terms of probability of threat and security measures that will prevent the attacks. So what is the possibility of a threat? So we know that there are different types of threat that are defined for any application, and we have to determine what is the probability, and then we have to see how well the system is designed so that measures have been already taken to prevent this kind of attacks. So that is the integrity or the security metrics for the software. That is one of the quality characteristics. Similarly, usability is another quality characteristics, and here we are discussing measured in terms of usability characteristics under the user interface design. I think when we discussed the user interface design, we had discussed some of these metrics. Then similarly, many other software product quality metrics can be measured. It can be defined and measured. Understandability, completeness, conciseness, consistency, portability, testability, reliability. These are depending on the customer's expectation. The metrics are already defined, and how to measure is also known. But depending on the customer's expectation, the kind of characteristics that he is expecting in the software to be delivered, we will decide on these metrics and include it into our project. Now, coming to the end of the discussions, how to integrate the metrics within the process. Unless we make it as part of our software process, they will always be neglected. So the process of measurements and metrics needs to be a part of the software process activities to provide advantage of the control and improvement. First of all, if we don't include it, we may miss out and we may not do it correctly. And second is, if we do not, if it is included, then our process capability will be properly determined, and we can take the advantage for the control and the improvement. Then the metrics value is initially baselined. So we will take over some projects, we will make the measurement and baseline it, and then we will do the improvements in an incremental manner and take appropriate actions. So this diagram actually shows this whatever we have discussed. Software process, project, product, all the three areas data is collected, and these measurements go into the metrics computation, metrics come out, then the metrics are evaluated, and their evaluation gives us some indication as to what is going wrong or what can be improved. So we have monitoring, adjustments, process improvement, and goal setting actions. And finally, we come to the summary. We have discussed some basic metrics and measurements. We have discussed software process metrics that are collected across the organization to assess the process capability level and also effect certain process improvement. And initiating a metric culture in the project team without threatening the team is very important, for which we saw some guidelines, and we then discussed the project metrics which deal with the project measurements that help in taking tactical decisions regarding the specific project. Since the product is an outcome from the project, so we also discussed what are the quality metrics of the product. Because there are quality characteristics that is required, certain performance measures are required from the software. So product quality metrics are also very important, and they are another part of the project metrics. So some metrics for object-oriented web engineering we saw, and finally we saw how to integrate the metrics as a process into the our major software activities so that we can reap the maximum benefit. In this process, the current metrics attainment is baselined and the effect of the process improvement is checked. So I think I have given you an overall idea of what is metrics, how they are used, how they are measured, and what are the different types of metrics we should take. And we have taken a lot of examples to show that. And finally, we have seen how these metrics can be integrated. So I hope this is very useful to you, because when you go to the software industry, you will find that each time you are doing some actions, you are measuring the taking some measurement, and you are also determining the metrics, and when you have status meetings or any quality reviews and everything, you will be discussing these metrics for determining the status, the goodness of your process, of your project, of your product, and you will be taking actions. So thank you all for giving me a patient hearing.